So in the Greta Gerwig directed film, Barbie 2023, we have the titular star here, Margot Robbie, who is Barbie herself. And in this movie, Barbie's kind of going through what we call existential crisis. You know, she's kind of, she's having these thoughts, these intrusive thoughts of death and life and, life and what it all means and everything like that. You know, all these human thoughts, which is kind of complicated since she's just a doll. You know, she lives in Barbie land with all the other Barbies, all the other kins. You have a variety of different Barbies, variety of different kins there. And I will say about this movie, beautiful set design, beautiful production design, all of this stuff, because it's like a play set. I mean, they're taking it from the actual, play set there. And you see, all this lovely stuff. It's all, it's pink and great colors, and all of it really pops. All of it looks fantastic. So I think that really is very striking from the beginning. Is all that which is really nice. So when she has this, existential crisis, she has to figure it out. So she ends up going to the real world, and trying to figure this all out and figure what's wrong with her in order to stop it from happening. And joining her on her journey to the real world is one of the kins, who's played by Ryan Gosling here. And he starts to discover a lot of things, about the real world, about what it means to be Barbie, and just what it means to be, in general, just a woman overall, in the real world. So that's kind of the basic setup here, of this Barbie film. And it's probably a lot deeper than maybe what some people were expecting with this Barbie film. But we talked about a little bit before this review of just it's tracking to do really well first opening weekend. And I think the whole kind of Barbieheimer thing that's really that also added to the marketing in general, just Barbie itself.
Yeah, that Barbenheimer meme that was going around, that went viral. And I think the power of that can't be underestimated, because I went to the theater. I did my usual thing. I tried to get to the theater like maybe 10 minutes after the show's scheduled to start, because I'm trying to miss some of those trailers. And the line to get into the theater was around the block. And that was not to get the tickets, to get into the theater.
Wow. That's impressive. And it also helps that with the Barbie movie, a lot of it is, dressing up, people dressing up to go see it in the theater. So I saw, when I went to my screening, I saw people dress up as Ken and Barbie. Like when they are, like you see in the trailer, they're wearing like their saloon outfits and everything like that, kind of like cowboy outfits. There were people dressed up as that, people dressed in pink. So, that also helped it too, that it's an event that you can kind of, go with your friends and dress up for. Did you see a lot of people doing that?
Oh yeah, it was pretty much wall to wall people dressed as Barbie and Ken. Just everybody was breaking out the pink on Friday when I saw the movie.
Nice. So yeah, with this movie, like I said, with the kind of things that it's doing in the movie, like I said, it is going to do a lot of stuff where it's bringing up, a lot of different real world issues. They do discuss patriarchy. They do discuss, feminism. They do discuss a lot of these things. And I think where it may be a little too much at times, but I think it's not as heavy handed as maybe some other stuff, even though they're blatantly saying it, because this world of Barbie, even when they go to the real world, it's all cartoonish. It's all, ridiculous. Even when they go to the real world, they meet Will Ferrell's character, who's the head of Mattel here. It's all play for laughs. It's all play for jokes. None of it is really taken that seriously there. So when you have that undertone of like this cartoonish nature, even when you're saying things very blatantly, I think you can't take it all the way that way, because it's still, I think, has its comedy nature to it. What did you kind of think about the movie and then its message of it, and if it's too heavy-handed?
For me, I think if you're gonna do a message film, because that's essentially what Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, who Gerwig directed, and her and Noah Baumbach, her husband, they co-wrote this. And I feel like this is that real perfect balance of playing with that real cartoonish and absurdist level of humor, while balancing that message that they're trying to deliver about feminism.
Yeah. Engine Plays had a good point too about the success of this movie, that I made a, I think I was talking to someone else, and I said this movie is basically like the Spider-Verse of doll movies, I guess, because it's like in this,
it's basically, yeah, it's kind of like in tone and execution, it's kind of like a live action Lego movie.
Yeah, it is like a live action because you have all these different Barbies, and it's Mattel also poking fun at itself. Like it also skewers itself in this, and you see all these different Barbies in it. So if you are a big fan of Barbie, if you play with a lot of Barbie toys, maybe you'll recognize a lot of these Barbies in there, and they do some funny gags with them. Like there's one Barbie that's named Mitch that was a pregnant Barbie, and then they go like, "Oh God, you're still here. I forgot that we created you.
Thought we discontinued you."
Yeah, and then there's one Barbie that has like a TV in her back. It was like, I guess, an 80s Barbie that came out back then. So that's kind of fun. All these kind of different Barbies that kind of show up, and also all these different Kens that kind of show up. And some of the other Kens are played by Simon Liu, who's in here. Kingsley Benadier is also in here as a Ken. So you have a variety there. And when it comes to the Kens in this, it speaks about that dynamic between Barbie and Ken, because in Barbie world, it makes sense why Ken would be a second-class citizen, because it's about Barbie. Like you get, nobody says, I'm just going to get a Ken doll. You get Barbie and Ken. Ken is just an accessory to Barbie. So it makes sense why he would be a second-class citizen in this. What would you kind of think about that dynamic in the movie there?
Well, that was so much in that dynamic, I think, is really done very well, and so much of it is owed to Ryan Gosling's performance as this main Ken, because he is so damn funny every time he is on screen. And I think the movie, it is commentary. It is kind of, I think it's more middle ground when it comes to gender roles in society, because you see it in Barbie Land. It's this society that is run by women, and you have characters like our Ken, who's played by Ryan Gosling, and kind of seeing, he goes to the real world and see how that place is run, and it blows his mind.
Yeah. And a lot of great stuff. And it doesn't take that long for them to get to the real world, which I think is very nice, because this movie's not very long. It's only an hour and 40-something minutes. So it's not very long.
Yeah, it's barely breaking 2 hours.
Yeah, I do think with the ending, though, I feel like they do too many endings. I'm like, it ends, then it ends again, then it ends again. It's like, okay, you know what I mean? I think let's just end it. And then some of the human characters here, like America Ferrera, who's in here, and then Will Ferrell. Especially with Will Ferrell's character, I don't know, I'll get your opinion on the human characters. It kind of feel useless a lot of times, I think, especially with the Will Ferrell character. It's like you almost forget there's a point where they're doing something in the movie towards the end where I forgot he was totally in the movie. I was like, oh, right, you're here, when he just pops back up. What do you think about the human characters here?
The human characters, I think America Ferrera kind of steals the show. I know everybody is praising Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, but there's a monologue towards the end of the second act, delivered by America Ferrera. And it's one of those where it is pointing out the absurdity of our culture and our society's norms around gender. And it's done with so much weight and gravitas. And while the rest of the movie is very much playing with that absurdity, the movie pumps its brakes and say, yeah, this is the point where we're saying some shit.
Yeah, especially with America Ferrera's character, who has a daughter. And the whole thing about like the kind of the Barbies in this is that, oh, hold on, let me plug in my charge. My laptop here. Yeah, the thing about with the Barbies in this is kind of, they're treated like, even though like you gotta have to just go with it about the science of this, about like actually what happens, but it's kind of like Jordan Peele's Us, where you're kind of tethered to your Barbie, where you know what I mean, you have kind of this emotional connection with it, and that allows the Barbie to kind of feel what you're feeling. So it's kind of like that situation there. And when you're playing with the Barbie, it does the things in the real world how you would do it in Barbie Land. Like for instance, with Kate McKinnon's character, she's weird Barbie. So all the stuff you did with your weird Barbie, like you messed it up. You cut its hair, you put it in splits, you put Joker makeup all over it.
Basically just played with it like Sid from Toy Story.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how it kind of works here. So when she kind of goes to the real world, Margot Robbie, Barbie does, she kind of tries to meet her human that plays with her. And then when she actually runs into who's the daughter, you know, it's like, yeah, I mean, you know, I played with you a long time ago, and honestly, you kind of suck now. I kind of realized I kind of a little bit, you know, you fucking suck, and what you meant to women is kind of useless and has done a lot of damage to women. And it kind of just breaks her there, you know what I mean? Because she's thinking like she's coming for a world where, you know, she's thinking, hey, because of Barbie, you know, women, you know, it's giving the idea women could be presidents and scientists and Supreme Court justice and construction workers and all these other things. And you know, to see kind of like, you know, kind of that is like the negative impact that she's had, kind of breaks her there. You mentioned Ryan Gosling, great performance by him. I know some people were mentioning him maybe to be nominated. And also, yeah, Margot Robbie.
Yeah, it's kind of insane that there's a very real possibility that Ryan Gosling gets an Oscar nomination for Ken.
Yeah, I could maybe see it depending on how the rest of the year shakes out. And also Margot Robbie, Barbie does also a fantastic job here too. A lot of kind of her going into the world, which I loved a lot of stuff there. And you know, this trying to cover a lot of ground in an hour and 45 minutes of discussing all these themes. And there's a lot of really great moments. Like one really moment there is, I think a beautiful moment is when she's sitting at the bus stop and she sees an older woman and she calls the older woman beautiful. I thought that was a very sweet moment there. But there's yeah, you know, you're trying to do a lot of this and cover a lot of these complex topics in this, you know, short amount of time. Do you think it succeeds at it for the most part?
Yeah, more often than not, I think because the movie itself, the movie subject matter isn't really playing it straight. Most of this is played for laughs. And I think you're able to kind of cover a lot of ground through that approach.
Yeah. And I think when you actually, you know, pay attention to the movie, you actually, you know, kind of, you know, sit there, you know, watch the movie. It's not man hating. It's you know what I mean? It's not saying all men are terrible or anything like that. It tries to, you know, lay out this kind of, you know, world. And I think it, you know, it tries to explain its themes there. If you actually watch the movie of needing to work together as both man and woman in order to, you know, to take on something and kind of defeat something there. I think when you kind of look at it. Yeah. So, you know, I think the performances are really nice there. I think some of the human characters, you know, I think they kind of somewhat kind of useless there, but I think I still did like America Ferrera. I thought she was pretty good there. And I liked Will Ferrell. I thought the moments he was in there was pretty funny. The moments he does come in there, and the look of the movie is also really nice too, and really pops too. And then some of the people.
Yeah, the cinematography and the production design, especially in Barbie Land, it's amazing to look at because everything is kind of with that super pastel color palette. Even the objects in there, they operate under toy rules.
Yeah. And I wonder if this was going to get nominated for best costume design, because a lot of, like, you see, of course, Barbie's got to always change outfits, always do costumes, all that stuff. That's always really nice to see, like all the different various outfits that all of them wear. Some people I know were kind of deterred by the fact that maybe it's a musical, even though there's some musical sequence they saw some, but the musical sequences I think are really good too, and really work really well here. So it's not like really a musical all the way through with everybody, all these people, but when they do it, it's pretty nice. Like there's the one where the Kens square off, and it's like like Grease and everything like that.
Yeah, it's like a war that then changes into a musical number, a la Grease, and it's a really good song. I'm Just Ken is a banger.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of really good. So I love the direction by Greta Gerwig here. I can get maybe some of it being a little too heavy-handed for some people there. I can understand that, but I think that comes with it. The reason I'm not kind of maybe going to, it's something like Charlie's Angels, or which from Elizabeth Banks, or something like Ghostbusters from 2016. The reason I think it's a difference there between those movies and this movie is because I think the tone in which they're doing it and the humor in which they're doing it, and like I said, it's not taking itself too seriously. I mean, there are moments where they do get serious, you know, with like America Ferrera and her big speech in the movie. But I think for the most part, it is played with a lot of laughs. There's probably a lot of jokes to, you know, kind of soften you up to a lot of the themes and messages of it, which I thought was pretty good. So that's why I think it's a step above something like Charlie's Angels or Ghostbusters, or you know what I mean, something like that. It'd be funny enough. I mean, this was kind of what I a little bit wanted more from something like Birds of Prey, honestly. We also had Margot Robbie in it as well. I was thinking maybe if Greta Gerwig directed something like that, that movie would have been a little bit better there. But yeah, so I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I mean, people in my theater, they were enjoying it, they were loving it. One woman sitting a couple rows down from me, she was dying. I tell you, she was dying, like literally, she was crying, laughing. She was kicking her legs. She was going like she was having a great old time. So I was like, oh wow,
Yeah, there are a couple of moments in my theater where the audience was just dying laughing. And there's also a lot of like smaller jokes that only are going to appeal. Like I think you shared it on Twitter. There was a joke about the Snyder Cut when I was the only one who laughed in my theater.
Yeah. So there's a lot of good jokes that come around, not only just visually, but also said. And there's a great voiceover by Helen Mirren, who's in it, and she has a great line in here. That's a great line. It's a banger line.
I think it's already been shared on Twitter. It's just kind of sad.
Yeah, but it's a banger line. I absolutely love that line. It's really great, and that I think maybe got the biggest laugh in my theater. That line was Helen Mirren. But yeah. So strong film, completely all around for me. I liked a lot of things about it. What would be your final thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think this is a very good movie. I was really looking forward to it just because of how absurd it looked. The fact that this is, by a lot of the cast's account, this is the best screenplay that they've ever read. It's written by two Oscar-nominated writers with Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, and they touch so much ground with feminism, with this kind of existential journey that Barbie is going on throughout the movie. And Ryan Gosling gives one of the best supporting performances of the year as Ken, and he has so much range with what his character's arc goes through. And yeah, I absolutely love the production design of this. It's a fantastic movie to look at, from just the costumes to the sets to the practical sets, which is kind of weird to say that having those in your movie is now like something that separates you from the average blockbuster fare. And I give this a very strong tune in. I was laughing throughout the entire movie. A couple moments that kind of tugged on my heartstrings. And this movie punctuates on the very last line. It got the biggest laugh I've ever heard in a theater this year.
Yeah. Yeah, the ending scene also was really good with people. I find, a lot of people like that ending scene as well. To follow up on Nick, I agree with a lot of points that he made. Strong film, strong cast all around. I think strong writing all around. I think there's a lot of great positives about this movie. Like I said, some of the negatives here, I think the ending of it is like it ends and then it ends again and it ends again. It's like, okay, let's kind of hurry up with this. But yeah, I think it moves at a great pace at 1 hour and 45. And yeah, it's also funny just to see this movie break people's brains. It's just amazing. That also is also a benefit too, to just to see people actually freaking out over it, which is pretty great too.
And none of these motherfuckers gave a shit about Barbie up until like this movie came out.
Yeah, so that's also kind of enjoyable too there. But I mean, I think I don't know. It depends what type of person you are. Maybe you're gonna like it, maybe you're not. For us, we had a great time watching it. I'd definitely see it again. And for me, I'd give it kind of a high tune in, low peak for me.
This is a very high tune in for me as well. It is bordering on peak. It is right there.
Yeah. That was our thoughts on Barbie.